pressing that button. Only 7 minutes late. That's not too bad for a H4Games venture. Got some screaming in the background, but that's the way it goes here. And let's pop out that chat as well.
I need to go. Probably should go grab some water.
Yeah, go grab some water. Go ahead.
Put my knitting down because I'm not lady.
My girlfriend also knits. It's cool.
Knitting's cool. Knitting's fun. I mean, I wouldn't know, but that's
neither
what
would
they tell me.
I would not be a good knitter.
Yep. I don't have the time, the patience.
She might crochet.
My mom crochets. She crochets up a storm. Like, she made this really nice thing for Thomas, this blanket. Kristen crocheted a blanket for Thomas as well. That's the Triforce on it.
Nice.
She makes her own socks. Kristen makes her own. This is for anyone who's watching. Dave Perazzo's wife, Dave Perfect 10's wife, makes her own purses that she knits or crochets or one or the other. And
we actually have people the moment we started the stream. That's
fantastic. Yeah, here we go. Well, hey everybody, we're gonna chat it up for a little bit while we wait for YouTube to send out some notifications. So in about 3 hours, most of our people will...
And I will be in bed at that point in time.
Exactly. But,
right.
We are here, obviously, Tony, Richie, and we have Shelby here today, a.k.a. Roocrow. She is our editor. She's been part of the team for over a year now, 1.5 years, 2 years, something like that.
I know, it's crazy.
Do we have an anniversary or anything? Any fanfare?
For her, I sent her a 1099.
Hey,
that's
legit.
That's important. I made enough money that I deserve one this year.
That's right. No, that was good. That was the goal, is make enough money that I would have to legally send her a 1099, which was simple. And actually, how you do it is simple. But the thing is, you need to get you have to either order specific paper from the IRS or get it Staples, because it has to be. It can't be
It has to be the IRS or Staples.
Yeah, well, or an office supply store. It can't be downloaded and printed, because it's not the right paper. So you have to go there and you have to buy, I had to buy a pack of 30 of it, but I only have one independent contractor. So it's so I had all these extras, but they all say 2018, so you can't use them again next year.
Oh.
But it comes with this software that's really convenient and simple, but the problem is that I didn't know what my requirements were in terms of sending it to the state of Michigan and the 2 states in which she lived. So I had to look up individual laws regarding whether or not employers, or technically I guess an employer because it's an independent contractor, whether or not I have to send also to the states,
right?
And which
that sounds
which IRS address
terribly boring
would be associated, because depending on where your business is located, you have to send to different IRS addresses.
Right.
So it's I was trying to figure all this stuff out, and I'm talking to my sister, who is our accountant, but she doesn't do this type of tax. She never deals with employee stuff.
She's not well versed in small video game internet shows.
No, she's not. So she does mergers and acquisitions. So she's
oh, that sounds big and capitalist.
Yeah, she does more American Psycho level stuff, and we're just puny H4Games. So I'm talking to her, and I'm I gave her this list. I'm here's everything I researched, here's everything I did, blah blah blah. Do you think this is right? And she's well, I don't know. I mean, I read the directions, and it seems right. And I'm and the one time I was come on, help me out a little bit more. On the other hand, it's she was well, didn't you read the directions? And I'm well, yeah, I did read the directions, but maybe there was something that you would have interpreted differently because I'm not a CPA. And she's no, it sounds fine.
Right.
So I'm oh, okay, this is relatively easy. Also, real quick, this is your dog scratches, not hickeys, in case anyone's noticing. Also, our normal webcam stopped working today, so I'm using the built-in one, so it doesn't look quite as good, unfortunately. So I apologize, guys. I guess we're just lazy. We'll get to that in a minute.
But tonight I am drinking Boss Tweed IPA. It's quite tasty. It almost tastes like juice.
Yeah.
I swear to God, these headphones.
Do you want to switch?
No. I wanna stick it out.
Switch. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the scripted chit chat, because that was unscripted chit chat. Notice how with our crappy camera, the auto exposure changes.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
I don't think you could see that, Shelby, but
I could see the sort of a dimming effect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can't you just turn your camera not to do that, not to auto.
Yeah, but you know what though? This thing has been so finicky. Like I don't even know. I don't even want to deal with it anymore. Like I'm just
You're like,
done.
I'm done.
But yeah, so let's talk about our weeks. Richie, how was your week?
Pretty nondescript. I was at my friend's last night. We played Gloomhaven.
Okay.
Pretty decent board game.
Yeah.
So that was fun. That was pretty much the only interesting thing that happened all week, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what. I really don't remember my week very much. Oh yeah, I went to the casino with Bobby last night.
Oh, nice.
And it was a shit show. Let's just put it that way.
That's what I would hope to happen at a.
Bobby was a very happy boy. And he was talking to every single person he possibly could, putting his arm around. I had to like...
Was Jessica there?
No, but Josh was. And so we were trying to control him because, Bobby's so touchy-feely that it could be easily taken the wrong way and we got to get kicked out. So there's one point in time...
I was touching your boob as a...
No, he's not touching anybody's boobs.
I was doing it as a, screening. It was a screening.
It was exactly.
Definitely one of those.
Checking for lumps. But no, he goes up to some woman, a middle-aged woman. She's playing the slots just by herself, and he just walks by and goes.
That's so Bobby.
I'm like, Bobby, like you need to stop. He pulls out a bunch of cash from the ATM, and me and Josh take 2/3 of it and hide it.
That's theft.
Well, we gave it back to him at the end of the night, and we're like, "You're welcome." You didn't, he blew a good amount on the slots, and he was just gonna blow 300 more until we took 200 and hid it in our own pockets.
We hid it at the craps table.
Yeah, but other than that, we were just.
I love craps.
Yeah, but I didn't gamble.
Bobby Wrangling.
Boring. What do you do at a casino then? Just people watch?
We were that we also went to some bars beforehand.
Okay.
So that was casino kind of where we ended the night. I was mostly just babysitting.
Right.
At that point in time, but it was fun babysitting. Babysitting Bobby.
Right.
Is what I mean. But Shelby, how was your week?
It was okay. I went to I had a birthday party today. By birthday party, I mean birthday lunch. And we were supposed to maybe play D&D tonight, but the weather's supposed to get really nasty tonight.
Yeah,
already is here.
I'm here. Yeah, right. It's moving across the country. Other than that, I had to buy a suit this week. That was stressful.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those things like I'm like not necessarily like a professional in my life. Not like I don't want to be. It's just like I'm terrible at it. Like,
I've never thought of you that way. That's for sure.
Right. I don't know. I don't know what the first thing about buying suits is, and I like don't know what to do.
The first thing is buy one good one and be happy with it.
Right.
Don't buy 100 suits.
You know what though? Like it's hard because if you're not. I found that it's easier when you go into a place that they specialize in that and you have people that can like fit you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like otherwise I'm like, is this too long? Is this like a zoot suit? Like what am I wearing?
Right.
But well, that's good. Getting ready for possible new job, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep that on the down low because I still don't know. It doesn't feel real to me because I don't have like a lot of details. So I'm gonna have to email this guy this week and be like, hey, like, where's this gonna be at? What time do you want me? Because like I'm still waiting on the shutdown to be over.
Yeah.
Question mark? I don't actually know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, shutdown / partial shutdown / total meltdown has been affecting a lot of people. So it's a lot of things are up in the air.
It is crazy because like it's over now, so people aren't talking about it, but like it still could happen again, and like we don't know. So I might end up still at my current job until it's over, but I don't know. I feel like it may not happen again because the president's just going to be like, "Hey, it's a national emergency. I don't care anymore."
Yeah. Who knows?
Right.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows except for him, and he probably doesnn't even know. So, anyways, let's go ahead and go to our next scripted bit of chit chat. So just want to let everybody know here again. Welcome again to H4Games. If you're just joining us, I'm Tony. This is Richie, and we are with Roocrow, aka Shelby, aka Roocrow. If you want to check out her Twitch channel, it is linked in the description below.
I've actually been streaming again every Thursday.
Yeah,
nice.
Thursday night. Check it out. Again, link in the description. Throw her some bits while you're up on there. do all that good stuff. She's been editing for us for a long time, does a kick-ass job.
Thank you.
Keeps me married because of all the, the stress reduction from a little bit less work, which is always nice. All that good stuff. And before we get totally started here, I did want to let everyone know that we do have a new... Where is it?
Whoop.
New shirt design. It's bananas. It's not even loading.
Tony's internet is so sad right now.
Yeah, that's because I'm streaming. That's bananas. So all 5 of you that watched our Donkey Kong Country competition cart episode will know this and how bananas it is. You can see a delightful text with a competition cart with a banana.
It's got a nice hook to it.
It does have a nice hook, doesn't it? And that is that. We're actually doing a little bit of a promotion right now for anybody who happens to be interested. It is H4G Pod 11. Again, that is H4G POD 11. That's 10% off any of the merchandise in the store, including the That's Bananas t-shirt. So that's my shameless plug until I do that shameless plug again at the end of the video. So again, H4G Pod 11 if you are interested in a discount on our stuff. I'll probably put that in the description of the video once I re-upload it or tweet it out or something like that. It's good for a week. There's a timeline on it to try to force you to buy quicker. So it's just marketing. Anyways, let's get on to our topics here. First things first, Metroid Prime 4. Richie, tell us all about what's going on with Metroid Prime 4.
So I kind of felt like this was gonna happen just because of the radio silence in the years leading up to it. But Nintendo has formally come out and made an announcement that they're completely rebooting the development of Metroid Prime.
Starting from scratch.
Starting from scratch. They're getting the Retro Studios team that worked on the original trilogy back on board because they were not happy with where the product was.
Yeah.
And I can understand a lot of fanboys being pretty upset by the news.
Yeah.
But I am so happy that they did this.
Yeah.
Because if the game was going to be a turd, you can't have that.
No.
Not at Nintendo. You can't have Metroid bomb.
No, you definitely don't want that. I know a lot of people didn't like Metroid Other M, but I thought it was a fun game. It wasn't Metroid Prime, obviously. But, I was confused at first as to why they didn't include Retro Studios to begin with.
Right.
But now it's kind of like, oh, we attempted this ourselves. We couldn't do it as well as you. And, here you go. We're gonna throw it back to Daddy.
Right.
Real quick, before we continue, just want to recognize a super chat. Thank you so much. This is, oh my goodness, this is a very Latin name. Archimegaris Sancti?
I think you were pretty close. Not perfect, but...
It's been a while since I've been doing a Latin mass.
Sancti is probably something sacred.
Yeah, well, the avatar is like Jesus on the cross. I think. It's a very small avatar. It says, love your channel. I'm a Detroit native, and nothing beats Genesis and a beer in a blizzard. God bless and be well. Thank you very much. We're going to try to stay warm because it is blizzarding here right now. Richie, I
kind of do agree that the Virtual Boy didn't have enough beer consumption, but we can get back to that later.
Yeah, we can. Shelby, thoughts on the Metroid Prime 4?
Here we go. I've never actually played a Metroid game.
All right, well, I guess we're done.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I did see, I do follow Twitter, and like a lot of people, there was like a big mixed bag when it came to this announcement because, again, like Richie said, people don't want a bad game to be had, which is absolutely acceptable. And there's been other instances where studios have done this. They've like basically scrapped the whole project and tried again.
Yeah.
And I think it was another Metroid game that actually got like cited as doing the same thing, and it was a good game. But I can't remember exactly which one it was. But there was a lot of interesting discussions about it, which I found fascinating.
But I feel like Nintendo is the only software company that has the balls to do something like this and just say, hey, it's not happening on the timeline we originally had in mind. We're going to have to push it probably at least a year, maybe even a couple.
Yeah.
And as opposed to most teams, which would just be like, okay, well, let's just rush this out, get it done, make it as much money as it can.
Yeah.
But I mean, like when Ocarina of Time came out, it was delayed multiple times before it was released, and it was one of the best games ever made, possibly because of that. So
yeah,
I think they're making the right decision. It's bad for them too, because that's basically, I don't know exactly how long it's been in development, but that's money that is not going to make them any money. That is all sunk cost at this point.
Yeah, wasted cash, wasted capital. Yeah,
we live in a weird time where like these games, when they get announced, they have to come out like soon. Like you might as well have just not announced it if you're still working on it. And that's like where Kickstarters have cut into a problem, because like they have a product and they typically sometimes they have a demo and they go, okay, it's going to be out 2014, and then 2014 rolls around and they're like, well, we have to push it back, and then you get something that happens like with the We Happy Few. I don't know if you guys followed that at all, but there was a game that was Kickstarted called We Happy Few, and it looked like it was going to be in the same vein as BioShock, except for it was like 1960s London. It was going to be fun, and then like people backed it, they were in love with it, and then like as time progressed, it just got worse and worse. It's like, oh well, it's a survival game, and now we picked up by Gearbox, and now we're doing season passes, and it just became like this hodgepodge. And they released the game, and it is a absolute bloody mess. It's glitchy, but that's the kind of stuff you run into if you try to like work on these weird production schedules that they set for themselves. Like, just do your game on your own time, and when you're ready to finish it, you finish it.
But yeah, like most of the other companies like EA, they have themselves on such like a set schedule. We need to release X number of games this year, and then they kind of try to stratify their big series, so they have a release here, a release here, a release here, and they're never without a big ticket item on the docket. Yeah. And I think that's part of why they're sucking more and more with each successive release.
EA is a company that gears towards its shareholders. Nintendo is a company that gears towards its user base, I feel. And Nintendo's definitely produced turds in the past, but I feel like they are more reluctant to do so, and they're also less likely to release a game that then needs to be fixed by a massive DLC patch. And I remember Breath of the Wild needed a DLC patch that made it run a little bit smoother, but there hasn't been much since that. And that was like, at launch there was a little patch, and then there's like one or two other minor things. So
I wonder how much of it has to do with them being the hardware company too, though, because if they're kind of relying on their games to move systems too. So I think that kind of motivates them more than just a run-of-the-mill software company that make quality product. But I also just think they have a better corporate culture than a lot of the other game companies out there.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I feel like Nintendo doesn't necessarily care like what's going on in the bigger game space, because like for a while people were pushing like video, like the video quality. We gotta have like the best video, 60 FPS. We gotta have like the most crispest detail. And Nintendo's like, nah, we're doing motion controls. And like then they made the Wii, and everyone was like, oh, it's so accessible and so good. And like they don't follow trends. They are trendsetters. They're like exploring options in gaming that people just don't think about. Yeah. And like even like plugging back to the Virtual Boy, the episode you guys just had released Saturday, wink wonk wink wonk.
Yeah, exactly.
The mid-90s, like people were dreaming about virtual reality, and like even though the Virtual Boy was a huge flop, that just still shows that Nintendo is willing to like take these risks with like hardware that pushes the boundaries of what people define as gaming. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. Now, granted, they refuse to talk about the Virtual Boy now, but I do understand what you're saying. I appreciate their initiative and their motivation to do that kind of content. So I think we're all on the same page. Let us know what you guys think in the comments here. I know a number of you are, but
my only concern with bringing the Retro Studios team back on board is that, like, towards the end of the Metroid Prime trilogy, I felt like it was kind of getting stale. There wasn't a whole lot of new ideas coming out of it. Yeah. So I hope this isn't the safe choice. Yeah. For as much as I've praised them for having the gumption to actually say, okay, yep, we're starting over. I still hope we're going to get something new in this game experience. But it's going to be fine no matter what it is if they do it well. but I'd like to see the series go somewhere.
Well, I think everyone would, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic here.
Let's do it.
I love that YouTube says that 0 people are watching, even though the comments are...
definitely flowing.
They're just commenting blind.
Yeah.
I apologize for never playing a Metroid, okay? I was it's not my cup of tea. I was into like other things, less serious games. that don't require a grid paper.
I didn't play Metroid until maybe like I didn't play Super Metroid all the way through probably until Metroid Prime came out, really, to be honest. And then I never had a Nintendo, so I didn't play.
I've played a couple of them. You and I played the Famicom disc version, like maybe about halfway through, which was a lot of fun. I played Other M. I've kind of dicked around with what was it, Super Metroid?
Mm-hmm. But Super Metroid is the bomb.
Yeah, I need to really dedicate some time to that one. But other than that, I haven't really played too many Metroid games. I'm very familiar with them, but I just haven't dove in. You know, one of those games I appreciate the series, but it's not really something I would really enjoy, but I just haven't gotten to.
Right.
I guess. Let's go ahead and move on here. I think we're pretty much all on the same page. Now, here's a topic that I think many people hold near and close to their hearts, and that is ScrewAttack. ScrewAttack obviously has gone through many changes throughout its years, and many of you may have heard that ScrewAttack's YouTube page has officially rebranded to Death Battle. And for those of you that have been following ScrewAttack for the last couple of years, you probably will have noticed that, you know, the majority of their content is now Death Battle. And what Death Battle is they take, you know, 2 characters. It could be Darkseid and Thanos, or Goku and Superman, or Spider-Man and Batman, or, you know, 2 like characters from different universes, or even the same universe possibly, and battle them. And the animation's really good, the quality of the production's really good, but that became their sort of cash cow, so to speak, and everything else kind of fell by the wayside because it's kind of like they found this niche that was working for them as a business. And even, you know, the top 10s that they were very famous for ended this past year, like a month or 2 ago or something like that. So
it was during MagFest, so it ended January 5th or 6th, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's obviously gone through some changes. A lot of people saw this coming, and, you know, it's kind of like Death Battle is what ScrewAttack was, but ScrewAttack has changed so many times throughout the years that it's like, you know, it's not obviously not if you were to like transplant yourself from 5 years ago to now, you wouldn't recognize it as ScrewAttack in any way. But
I mean, it really started out with like, hey, we're some crazy guys. We like video games. We're making funny videos. Yeah. And then it like became like, let's build a community. Yeah. Let's have these other people in our community also making good quality videos. Let's have them be in one place so that like everyone can watch stuff. So like we're talking about Gaijin Goomba. I think Matt Pat was on the site. Peanut Butter Gamer, JonTron, the Completionist, which I'm sure most people have heard of those. AVGN,
yeah, of course.
Keith Apicary. All these people were a part of this knit community, and they basically became almost like an MCM before MCMs were MCMs.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't go the full MCM route, but they like definitely hosted a lot of content on their website. They were like basically like its own miniature hub.
Yeah, they had a lot of partnered shows, which, like you mentioned, you know, Keith Apicary, AVGN, and then they also had a lot of user content. So I'm can't decide whether I want to go forwards to backwards or backwards to forwards in their history, but obviously, you know, a lot of things change. So, like, for example, they started eliminating their partner shows slowly but surely. There were many site revamps, and eventually they had a site revamp where all user content was wiped clean. Because originally when you would upload, you uploaded to their proprietary like server and video format and this and that. So H4Games, for example, had a bunch of content on YouTube, and then we had a bunch of content on ScrewAttack, and they were the same episodes, but YouTube and ScrewAttack had different needs in terms of the requirements, and also different time limits. At the time, YouTube could only be 10 minutes. So we could actually do extended episodes on ScrewAttack, which was kind of cool.
Because they used a different video hosting service called Springboard.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, and it was like
and now YouTube's like a 5-minute video. this is going in the garbage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, what is this? So, you know, it was kind of disappointing when they removed all their content, because it's like half of our views were really split between ScrewAttack and YouTube at the time, and that kind of went away. And obviously there were other very large changes where, you know, they got bought up by Fullscreen, and then they became part of Rooster Teeth, and then...
So I don't know if you knew this. I got to be like fly on the wall for this because I used to intern for ScrewAttack. I shortly after I left the company to go pursue other stuff, they sold to Fullscreen. So Fullscreen was under another. Fullscreen is just one company that was under another company. I think it was called Otter something, which was technically under AT&T.
Wow. Okay.
So they were owned by a bigger corporation. Yeah. Like Fullscreen's owned by something bigger than itself.
Yeah. As it often is when you have these buyouts of smaller companies. But yeah, it was interesting because, you know, when they did the Fullscreen buyout, a lot of it was like, you know, nothing's going to change, you know. And then...
Well, then they also got Rooster Teeth. Like Fullscreen also had Rooster Teeth, and now they had two similar companies, one who is more successful than the other. Yeah. And they're like, well, we're just going to combine some of this stuff, get rid of some of the other stuff, because it's costing too much money to have basically they're competitors. You bought two competitors, and now you have to figure it out.
Actually, I take back what I said earlier. They even when they did their site revamp years back, they still had user content, but you would just embed from YouTube because they had wiped clean all of their proprietary video. But when they went on to Rooster Teeth, I remember trying to post user content, being like, how do I do this? Like, how do they, you know, and you can't.
Oh, when they got rid of the site, when they merged fully with roosterteeth.com, there was more user content, period.
Yeah, no, there absolutely none, which was so disappointing because ScrewAttack was such a hub of user content where you could discover new shows and really be a part of like a quote community. And when they did that, you know, the community felt very dead to me in terms of the community on the site, because it was Rooster Teeth's site. It was ScrewAttack hosted on Rooster Teeth, right?
Right, because ScrewAttack really had two main pieces of itself, and it had the main site and it had the forums. And when they moved to Rooster Teeth, they lost both. Like there was no more ScrewAttack forums, there was no more like journal entries, because that's what some people did. Like they would do their own small version of games journalism. They'd make journals and like review games and do news and stuff like that. And it was all user created content. It was just gone.
Yeah, it was just in a blink of an eye. It was kind of like the whole to do with Machinima recently got wiped. So
I didn't know that.
Big giant Machinima.
Oh yeah.
Like their whole YouTube. Gone. All of that user content throughout the years completely just wiped clean, just off the face of the earth. Yeah. Real quick, want to recognize a super chat from Far Out Ideas. Believe it or not, he says smoke weed every day. Sir, your commitment to gardening is beyond stellar.
I know it's icy outside. I mean,
these are two thumbs, neither of them green.
Yeah, so it's good. I don't see a single weed in my backyard, and by God, sir. You're glorious. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, that said, you know, I guess what I'm getting at here is that the dissolution of ScrewAttack shouldn't really come as any surprise. I think it's kind of like this final sort of nail in the coffin for the G1s that have been so dedicated to the site. And it's sort of a thing where it's like, of course we saw this coming, but it's kind of like, I hate to describe it like this because it's morbid, but like both my I've only two grandparents left. Two of them passed away, and they both had sort of like a dementia, Alzheimer's memory thing. And it's kind of like it's the long goodbye. It's like, you know, at first they get confused, and then they can't remember your name half the time, and then they confuse you for other people, and then they have trouble talking, and then they have trouble eating, and then, you know what I mean? So it's like, it was like they're gone. They're basically gone, and then they pass for real.
There's like the shell of the person.
Yeah,
you really knew.
Exactly. They're not really them at that, but they are, but they aren't, you know? So it's like, and then they're gone, and you're kind of like, like, that's sad and that sucks. But
and Death Battle is no means a bad show.
Yeah.
It just,
no, not at all.
Just what's left.
I liked it. Oh, sorry, go on.
it's just a show is all it is.
Yeah.
Now. Like the thing that differentiated ScrewAttack from other similar projects is that they had that huge community, and it was so close knit, so tight, and even the little guys felt like they belonged there.
Yeah. And that's what created our delusions of grandeur on ScrewAttack. So it's kind of like that final nail in the coffin where you're like, okay, it's gone now. I saw this coming for a long time, but it's gone.
Oh dear, you've just like triggered the chat here.
I know.
My grandma.
Yeah.
Puff for the grannies. You gotta give those cheese puff to your grandmas, okay? They like Cheetos.
Puffs. Hey guys, treat your grandparents well while they're around because you never know. They could drop any second. Seriously.
Finally, some wisdom from Hard for Games.
Yeah, exactly. No, but really though,
be nice to grandmas.
Spend time with your relatives. You can't do it once they're gone. So, that said, I kind of wanted to backtrack a little because that all sounds very negative, but I think that many of these decisions were necessary. Some of them I think were missteps. Others I think were necessary to keep the business alive in a changing internet environment. I was talking to Shelby earlier and I was saying, because we were talking about how upset some of the G1s were regarding this.
Oh yeah,
very upset.
So there's been a split. So like it was the timeline is ScrewAttack existed. They've had several versions of the site. Then ScrewAttack got sold to Full Screen, and then ScrewAttack and then GameAttack split off.
Yes,
so the original creator of ScrewAttack, his name is Craig Skitzmas. He decided that he no longer wanted to be a part of the ScrewAttack, what was going on with ScrewAttack. So he and another person who was involved with ScrewAttack split off and made GameAttack, and they've been doing GameAttack content, which is mostly been streaming and Mario Party After Dark, which was like one of ScrewAttack's like other good things that they would do is they would get their like staff together and they would get inebriated and they would play Mario Kart competitively against each other, and it was very good entertainment. It was really, really fun. But that's what they're doing now.
Right. Yeah. So, I was just going to say that, there's this sort of divide among the G1s who I think some of them see it like we do, where it's kind of the Alzheimer's long goodbye, You're really having trouble with this, Richard. You sure you don't want to switch?
I know.
No, we're just going to deal.
And then I think, and on the other hand, I kind of also sympathize because I was telling Shelby earlier, I'm like, I feel like some of our old school fans would be 10 times happier if we did literally the exact same thing that we're doing now, but instead of chairs, we sat on a couch. Because that's the way we were, that's the way our original episodes were.
It used to be.
How it used to be. So it's like you have all these people that are very nostalgic, and you could literally do the same thing, but have just this thing that triggers the nostalgia, and you're like, I want it the way it was. I want it the way it was. But you also, if you take a look at our analytics during that time, they're flat. We had no growth for like 5 years. So
we love doing it, but it makes us no money.
And it's really hard to do. Like the editing is lengthy. It's tough. You have to crate the episode in editing because you can't really crate it beforehand with an outline. I mean, you can kind of outline it, but you kind of can't,
And John won't follow it anyway.
Remember, it's been I think over a year since we've used green screen content.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm not unhappy with.
Yeah. So I mean, it's we did do the My Life in Gaming spoof with a little bit of green screen in it, but it's not like we used to. Where it was like just covered in green screen. But point is that, I think that regardless, people are going to be nostalgic, so I think you have a lot of G1s out there, and not to create any hate or anything, but I think that, they're like, well, I want ScrewAttack. I wish it was the way, if it still existed, the way it was back in 2009. It's like, but that in a 2019 environment is not a viable business model. You can't do that. You can have a community, but you can't be like an MCN in a self-contained website and be making money. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of like, you got to have to see it both ways a little bit. I think that there were definitely some decisions that needed to be made. But I also kind of just wanted to talk a little bit and reminisce about some of our experiences with ScrewAttack. But, Shelby, I'm going to hand it over to you because you had an intern there for, was it a year? Or
it was
6 months? A year? Okay.
It was a year. I was supposed to only do it for like a semester, but ended up being 6 months after because like I liked being there, and sure. My time with ScrewAttack ended because I was not making a lot of money, and I needed to figure out, I needed to move out, and like I was working at, I don't want to say a dead end job, but I was working for a pet rescue, and they were not paying me money, and it was a little sketchy. So I was like, I came to Craig and I was like, look, I either got to start getting paid for this, or like I got to jet, because like this is taking up, like it's just like part-time hours coming in like every other day, and I'm not getting paid for it. But at this point, I'm not even getting college credits. So like, what's the deal here?
Yeah.
And he told me that like the money's not there, and like they can't afford to hire me, and like I'm gonna be 100% honest, I would have taken minimum wage. I would have taken so much, and this is the other thing. I was in college with other people who worked at ScrewAttack. We legitimately had classes together. Yeah. So, but he couldn't do it. And then 6 months later, they hired a director, John McCullough, who I'm not saying anything. Fantastic individual, also went to school with me, makes made amazing shorts, because he's like kind of like a kung fu guy, and he makes like, oh my god, if you haven't seen the last show that ScrewAttack actually really did was they had one season of A Day in the Life, I think they called it, and they did this whole like, this is what it's like to be in oh, you know what? I don't even think I look it up because it's probably gone. Actually,
I do remember what you're talking about, though.
It was like 8 episodes of like them effing around the office, but like they were really funny, and like the last episode was very like action packed, like John Woo style. It was great, but that show, they really want to continue that show, and Rooster Teeth told them no, because Rooster Teeth was like their big brother type of like, we're managing your company now, and they just like, they didn't give them the green light for season 2, and it was like basically the death knell. Like that was the last thing that happened before Game Attack split, was that show got canceled basically. So that's so real. But I also, outside of my interning, I actually ended up volunteering at every SGC up into when it became SGC and RTX became smushed together, and was there for 2 years. So I've been in and out of like the ScrewAttack scene here and there. What was the original question? I've rambled. Where are we going?
Well, no, I was just asking you about your just experience there in general. And but real quick, I'm going to interrupt you because we do have a super chat. I want to recognize MJ Foy, $2. Thank you so much. Didn't Handsome Tom split from ScrewAttack and former show? He did. I think he was on Channel Awesome for a while, as a matter of fact, or that guy with the glasses. But I don't know much about that show.
The last thing I heard is that Handsome Tom actually works at a pizzeria now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't know what he's up to these days. But anyways, go on.
Apparently he's working in a pizzeria.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Really what ended up, like, my first couple months of ScrewAttack, I ended up just really doing set design, like trying to make their streaming space a little bit more fun and exciting looking. I ended up making a bunch of, like, really cool 8-bit art out of housing foam, like insulation foam, which I personally want to do again. So like whenever I get some like creative space to do it, expect it. It's going to be cool.
I thought you were going
to crawl space.
I thought you were going to say whenever you can make your way up to Detroit, you're going to help us with our set, but apparently not.
I mean, maybe. You guys said it's already pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I think the last episode you guys had that Mario painting in the background, or like the picture. I can see it now, and it's great.
Yeah,
I love
my
it.
wife gave me that for Christmas a couple of years ago.
It's super cool.
Thank you.
And then I started editing. The first thing I really actually edited for ScrewAttack was I did a Cinemassacre mailbag for James Rolfe. They flew to California while he was working on his AVGN film, and they like did some like mailbag stuff. So I actually curated the questions, and then when they got the stuff, they footage back, I actually edited that together to be the shorts. And if you could find it, I edited that. And then eventually in between that, we did some metadata because we migrated the site and we had to do a lot of metadata backtracking. And then the last thing I did before I separated from ScrewAttack, I was doing what you missed this week. So I would like watch all the content that was coming out from partner shows that week, and then if anything else came out for the ScrewAttack guys, and I would like mash it up in like a Friday end of the week wrap up show, which I was like filmed in, which was cool. I have a couple episodes like sitting on my computer to be cut into demo reels, but it was fun. I had a good time. I'm not gonna lie, I did learn some editing techniques I do use on a day-to-day basis there, like refine them, but like that's it. I started streaming kind of because of ScrewAttack too, because like despite what I wanted to do, like I was actually, believe it or not, during the time of my ScrewAttack career, I got really depressed because my longtime boyfriend at the time went overseas, and in a desperation of like I needed to find friends, I like reached out to the G1s actually reached out to me, and like we became friends. That's how I met Tom, the Iron Man, and then Kanan, and they became like my best friends like for this ScrewAttack community. So like we're still good friends to today. And I started streaming. People are like, hey, you should start streaming because ScrewAttack's doing it. Why can't you do it? And oh my God, I got the cheapest capture card that exists to man. It's not even meant to do what it's supposed to do, but I made it work. And people are like, how do you get the audio for it to work? And I'm like, I'm gonna tell you honest truth. I turn the TV up really loud and I let my mic, it's on my face, capture the TV sound. It awesome. Works. I don't know why it works. It works.
There you go. There you go.
So I'm still streaming today. And I edit freelance for H4G Games. Dab.
Yeah, you are literally streaming right now, as a matter of fact.
I am. It's crazy.
As we
world
speak.
We live in.
So
I don't even feel like I'm streaming.
It's just natural.
Exactly. Just talking to friends. Let's see. Have you seen any good comments here, Richie? Or
I haven't really been looking that much lately.
We've been just so enthralled with the story.
It's true.
Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit about our experience with ScrewAttack, and then Shelby, if you think of anything else that you would like to say on the matter, you're definitely more than welcome to.
Sure, good.
I had been watching ScrewAttack for a little while, and back in I think it was like 2008, 2009, we decided to start doing H4G Games, and I didn't realize this at the time, but they had done a show, or rather a competition for different shows to submit content, and they would be partnered. Whoever won. And that's when the game Overthinker, I think Bob Chipman is his name, won and became
Oh yeah, Bob Chipman.
Yeah. So, and he's still around doing his thing, doing movie reviews and stuff, and some game reviews, I think. But anyways, point is that...
There are only so many things to overthink.
Yeah, exactly. I overthink everything, but...
Me too. mainly at bedtime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all these thoughts. Repetitive thoughts. But,
God, I have to let Far Out Ideas down because I still haven't listened to Emperor.
Oh, no.
Richie Emperor saying smoke weed every day, $5.
But maybe if I can just drag this out for a long time, I can just, like, cash in on not listening to Emperor of Sand.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep giving super chats. Thank you. So at that point in time, we'd already started H4G Games, but we hadn't submitted anything to ScrewAttack yet in terms of user content, and I had secretly hoped that they were going to do another one of those contests again, which they never did. So we started submitting content, and I remember our first piece of content that got on the front page was our Don't Drink and Game video, which was...
I missed that.
Which was just me screaming as John ran into people in Grand Theft Auto 4.
It was so good.
And like eventually just did this glitch where the car would flip and fly 1,000 feet as I was like screaming and yelling. It was as if he was driving, and we were drunk, and he was drunk and I was sober, and I was like the nervous passenger.
Is that still online? Is that on our channel still?
Yeah, it's still on the channel. Yeah, just search H4G Games Don't Drink and Game. And it's funny because it was back in the day when I didn't have an HDTV, so we ran the PlayStation 3 via composite through a TV and then outputted it onto a hi-8 tape and recorded it that way.
Wow!
Oh my God!
That's the way we used to record our stuff.
I remember that now.
Yeah, so it was rough. It recorded digitally, but it was a hi-8 tape on digital. But point is that wasn't great. But
smoke tapes every day.
Smoke tapes every day. So we got on the front page, and then it was like the biggest thing, because although it wasn't YouTube views, the views on ScrewAttack were going up and up and up and up, and we were like, oh my God. And some of them were converting over to YouTube because nowadays it's like you see something somewhere and people are too lazy to keep clicking. Back then, people would have to search around a little bit more to discover things online. So it would eventually sort of lead into... Shelby, you look very disgusted at something. Are you okay?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just like... Crabs.
Crabs?
Yeah. Sorry, this thing came up on my dash where it's like somebody's like digging into this like beach sand and they pull up an entire crab. Like it's like kind of big.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool.
Okay. Continuing.
Okay.
Well, I'm also thinking about your VCR and thinking about like my first camera was, this is off topic. My first camera was like one of those like mini cassette cameras. Yeah. And I had to buy a specific FireWire cord to even use it.
Oh, Lord, FireWire.
Yeah.
I know.
FireWire 800, double that speed.
Filmmaker and I still managed to upload to YouTube. I don't know what I was doing back then. Yeah. Good Lord.
I don't think any of us really knew. I mean, the thing is, I had gotten a film degree. But, like, capturing video game footage was... There wasn't equipment for it back then. No. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just like you had to take what AV knowledge you knew and like kind of rig something to get it to even work. And it was better.
Have you ever watched any of the old, like, I'm sorry to interject one more time, the like King of Quarters movie, like when people would submit stuff to Twin Galaxies for their records?
Yeah.
They would physically film the television and them playing.
In early YouTube, that's what a lot of people did. Yeah, I think a lot of the early AVGN videos have filmed televisions. I think. I could be wrong.
But... And it was only like, what was it, like maybe a year or two ago that they nullified those Billy Mitchell scores for the shady...
Yeah, exactly.
Altered video evidence.
But keep in mind, back in the day when we were like plugging in, you know, with the PlayStation 3 is an extreme example because it was HD, but let's say you take a SNES, you plug it in via composite, you output it via composite into a camera. That was a lot better than recording a TV. It's just when you look at it now, expectations are so much higher because you have RGB and you have HDMI out on your systems. But regardless, anyways, my point is that we kept making the front page. It was like almost like every other week or every third week, you know, or every other time, every third time, because we weren't as consistent back then in terms of weekly turnaround, we'd hit the front page. And it was like huge. I remember on our N64DD F-Zero X expansion kit review, it got hit the front page and it hit the top banner. That was the mother load. The front page and the banner. And
yeah.
I remember like that video hit 6,000 views, which back then was huge. And this wasn't our YouTube views. This was just on ScrewAttack 6,000 views, which was ginormous. It was blowing the F up. It had your original music track. Like it was, people were loving it. I remember to this day, because of that video, Craig like commented on it, says, "Hard for Games, you will always have a home on ScrewAttack." And then also, Justin Silverman of Silvermania, and at the time, Underbelly, contacted me, who was just in Michigan and didn't tell me. I contacted him. I'm like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "Sterling Heights." And I'm like, "Dude, you're 20 minutes away." And he's like, "Oh, well, you want to come to the show, the con that I'm at? I can get you some free passes." And I'm like, it ends at 5. It's 2. Like, I'm not going to do that right now. So next time he's in, I'll have to buy him a beer or something. But he had contacted me saying that he had watched it and he liked it, and that kind of started our friendship. And so time after time, we kept hitting that front page. So I kept getting this false hope that maybe we could get partnered one day, because you saw the partnered shows blow up, right, on ScrewAttack. And I remember emailing Craig, just being like, you know what, I was tired of waiting. I was like, no one's going to offer me anything. I'm just going to email him. And I emailed him, I'm like, "Hey, what are the opportunities for being a partner shown on ScrewAttack? Like, what can we do about this?" Because I know that, this is who I am. I've talked to you before once at an SGC, and he knew who I was. But, like, I just kind of put it out there. And he's like, sent because he didn't have to respond whatsoever. He sent the nicest email saying how, "Hey, I know who you guys are. I really love the show, but we're in a holding pattern right now with partners. We're not adding on any new ones." And I had just gotten a response from Machinima saying, which thank God we never joined with them, but Machinima was big back then, keep in mind. That it was just a one phrase or one sentence response without a period that said, "Contact me when you get 5,000 subs." That was a response from Machinima. And at the time, that was like 5,000 subs. My God, you know, like, we'll never do that.
I don't even know 5,000 people.
Yeah. So exactly. So, you know, so getting that.
I would settle for 5,000 views on any one video.
There you go. But yeah, so back in the day, you know, like I'd get all these like shitty responses. Even with like the AVGN, I contacted them to let them borrow the 64DD, and Mike contacted me back and was like, we can't borrow. You can give it to us if you want. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And then he's like. Then he would also respond with like phrased email. I sent this nice paragraph, and he'd just respond like 2 words at a time. And I'm like, dude, come on.
Blah.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things that seeing.
Don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like seeing Craig's nice response was really great. But then similar to your situation, Shelby, where he said they weren't hiring and then went on and hired someone, like a month later, he brought on like The Completionist and like a bunch of other partnered shows. And I was like, what? Like, and of course, retrospectively, at the time, I was really hurt, but retrospectively, it was like, well, of course, like H4Games wasn't going to make them a ton of money. It would be more beneficial for us than it would be for them because, you know,
really, it just would have been a nostalgia factor for them, like to really kind of intrigue the idea.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that we couldn't have improved or brought in an audience if we had gotten like a what's it called when you have like a. It's like you have a chance, you have your like
your shot.
If someone were to give us a shot, we probably could have done great things on the site.
Cue "Lose Yourself" by Eminem.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, from like a business perspective, I totally understand his decision. You know what I mean? It just sucked at the time because what he was telling me in this nice email was not true. But I understand why. You know, he was being polite when he didn't have to be. You know, which I did appreciate.
I like the harsh truth myself, but. Like I don't, but I do.
You guys are too crappy. Still are.
I don't know. I had this overwhelming sense when I worked at ScrewAttack because I actually was there for when Jarod got let go.
Oh, really? Yeah, I remember that was a big to-do.
That was a big to-do.
I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, Richie, but you know, Pro Jarod, he's like a big YouTuber
I know
now.
who he is.
He worked on YouTube for a long or he worked on ScrewAttack for a long time. He did the hard news segment, and then
well, he first showed up in name tags, which he didn't even live in Texas. And he was brought down to actually manage their game store called Game Attack.
Yeah, that was
which
faux pas.
Then went under.
Yeah.
Promptly, I guess. Yeah. And then he got
I don't know that you can blame any individual for a game store going under because they're basically we can only blame GameStop.
Let's be honest.
Jarod.
So, like, actually, how I got into ScrewAttack, I replied to a flyer at my college they were looking for a female host for Hard News. But unfortunately for me, they had already filled the position with Jarod, who had just moved down to manage their game store and now had no job.
Okay.
So I got beat out, but I got to be an intern. So I guess that was like the consolation prize.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't necessarily get along with Jarod during my time there.
Really?
Because like Jarod is this quiet, slightly introverted, like about work, just kind of like he's kind of mean. Let's be honest, he's a little mean. But I was probably this like yappy 20-something, like like he's probably like just like shut up, and I'm like, okay. I remember, I'll never forget the last thing that Jarod ever said to me before he left ScrewAttack forever, which was, hey, don't get stuck at this place. It is only a stepping stone. And then he left. And then he was gone. Like a kudo sage in the night was just out the door. And it like
that's probably the attitude any intern should have at any internship.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't an intern. He was getting paid.
Yeah,
and like his career launched the fuck off from there because he went with normal boots and then now he's like streaming D&D, I'm pretty sure for a lot of money. Like he's living the high life.
Oh yeah. No, he's got millions and millions of subs. He's doing extremely well. And like
he's doing extremely well for himself.
You know, also why at the time I was like, well, some of the partnered shows or like, you know, people that would go on to ScrewAttack and like host Hard News or whatever, they weren't necessarily anyone with a name, but then they kind of showed they had that shot, you know what I mean? And I kind of wanted H4Games to be able to have that shot, you know what I mean? Because then you see what happened to these people's careers far afterwards. You know what I mean? And but it's just the way that it goes. I'm not vindictive or anything. I just think, and again, I totally agree that it would have been a bad decision to bring us on, because it's like, why have us when you could have someone better? You know what I mean? I
don't know. I felt like there were two things that would be allowed at ScrewAttack. If it was free, and like if it was free, it was allowed. And if it had Greg in it, it was allowed. Everything else was in this tenuous, like, it better be successful immediately or it's going to be out. There's another show called News Desk that Jarod was a part of with Lauren Moore, which I thought was raucously hilarious. Only had one season, because after that, Craig said no.
Yeah.
And like, one season is a ridiculous amount of time to like be like, okay, that's going to be a successful show. There are shows I can name right now that went on to have successful like 10 seasons, and the first season is just okay.
Almost
Parks and Rec.
Every show.
Perfect example.
Yeah,
every show.
yeah.
Except for like the BBC Sherlock, where the first season is one of the stronger ones. But other than that,
right? Yeah. It's not normal that the first season is the best season and everything else is garbage. Normally the first season is kind of, you gotta get for the first season, and then everything else great.
Yeah, and we're still waiting for H4G to get good.
I know, right? When's that first season ending, guys?
Probably next week, I guess. So it's like, I'm kind of stuck between like a rock and a hard place with this, because I've worked in a lot of small businesses, and I definitely agree with you. I also see situations where it's like, it's so hard to please so many people, especially when money's involved, because it's like, I don't think that it should have been a situation where it's like, so long as I'm involved, we can do it, but at the same time, it's like, I understand the pressure of trying to like get things to work and have things be in budget, I guess,
right.
Which is, it's tough, and I don't deal with that because here's a little trade secret. I function as the treasurer for H4G.
You function as the everything for H4G.
Little trade secret for everybody. But there's a lot of, there's a lot going into balancing what we're, Richie.
Now I'm just going to throw these off every 5 seconds.
There's a lot that goes into balancing that. So and I've also worked with people like business owners that have been scared to death of taking chances. You know what I mean?
And I mean, it's hard when you've got a budget and you need to make that money back so that people can feed their children.
Yeah. And
there were a lot of families on the line. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Like during the time right before ScrewAttack got sold off, like Craig was having a baby, Chad was having a baby. Yeah. Like they were employing people. Like, and like there were other people who were employed who I had never even met because they were off-site workers. Yeah. And there were people who I didn't meet that were employed that didn't get paid. Like they were free work, and that's what they did in the background, and no one knew who they were.
Yeah, yeah, and it was funny because I was thinking about the different decisions that ScrewAttack made regarding business decisions. And I was thinking about like trying to balance things with H4G, which I have not traditionally done as well in the past. I think that we're doing now. I think we're a little bit better of balancing the needs and wants of our viewers and our people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So my policy now is that if someone comes to me with an idea, just so long as it's not like horrifically offensive, we do it. But I refuse to do 100% of the work. That individual thinks of the idea has to put forth the effort to get it produced, and I will help them every step of the way. And that's what we do. Whereas before, it kind of like wavered back and forth quite a bit, because I think like back like even 5-6 years ago, a lot of our members were kind of like upset because the type of content that they wanted to produce wasn't, I think, the type of content that I wanted to produce, which wasn't the type of content that the fans wanted to see. So for example, most of our people were very adamantly no more Zelda beta questing. And this isn't you saying that ironically. That's like everybody else in our group was like, don't do any more Zelda. People got upset.
Why?
Because they were like, you're overdoing Zelda. You're like...
It's the only stuff that people watch.
I know. So if you...
Can't argue with numbers, kid.
If you look at our Zelda videos, you'll see back like 5, 6, 7 years ago even, you'll see very large gaps. Because no one wanted to be a part of them and would actively give me crap about doing them. But our audience wanted to see it. But our group didn't want to make it. You know what I mean? So it's like and then you also take a look at our statistics during the time and it's like flatline. We didn't grow at all. So it's like it is difficult to be put in a situation where no matter what you do, everyone's gonna be mad at you. You know what I mean?
That's the shitty thing about being a manager, man. Because you're going to piss off the customers, you're going to piss off your employees, you're going to piss off everybody.
And now I think our policy is a little bit different. If I want to do a Zelda video and no one wants to do it with me, I just do it.
Right. That's why you never want to be the president.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying that the decision that you referenced specifically was the right decision. But I am saying that, like, I think also sometimes, like, me being in a situation with H4G Games, and again, this is a micro scale compared to what ScrewAttack was,
micro
hard scale. I've also made decisions that were definitely the wrong decision, whether it be listening to my people or not listening to my people on different occasions. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's the balance is extremely difficult. And again, I think that we're much better at it now. But I think we didn't have that back in the day, and I think it hurt the show and it hurt the views, and you know what I mean? Like, so we wouldn't have survived if we had paid employees back then. You know what I mean? So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm just trying to be devil's advocate a little bit, but I do think that some bad decisions were made at ScrewAttack.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But I would hope that they were made in the fact that, like, there were needs that needed to be met, and they needed to be met more quickly than the decision would allow time to be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think. Well, I was gonna.
Maybe we should consider hiring robots.
I mean,
can replace Shelby with a robot.
I don't know how that would go. I mean,
editing robot.
I want robot personalities. I don't care about the rest of it. Robot persona.
Yeah.
Wow, Richie, you haven't really even met me, and you already want to replace me with a robot.
No,
wow.
No. I want me replaced by a robot.
Oh, okay.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot better.
He might actually have a work ethic.
I mean, if we just replace John, we can have shorter shooting schedules.
Yeah, if we replace John, who's in the chat, by the way, we could have shorter shooting schedules. We could be way more on track. We'd have less funny. We'd have less.
It's true. We would have less outtakes.
You don't know what these robots are capable of.
That's
these
true.
Days.
Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I don't know. I was talking to Shelby earlier about this, and like my personal approach with ScrewAttack was to try to take somewhat of a neutral approach, because I know some people are angry and some people aren't. But I don't know. Shelby, I'm going to give you the last word on this. Is there anything you want to say or vent or explain regarding your experience or thoughts on it in general?
My final thoughts are, I know a lot of G1s, and it's a problem on both sides, because they will not let go of the past. And you know what? That's their God-given right. Like, they don't want to let even old ScrewAttack go. They live in the forever 2008 days. Like, we don't even say 2009. They live in 2008 days. And they won't let it go. They complain about a lot, and like, it's hard to please everybody. But on the same hand, there have been some really interesting missteps in the life of ScrewAttack that have led them down this route, which I think a lot of it has to do with, like, I would say not taking care of your customer, because like, really, ScrewAttack's customers were like the people they partnered with, like Keith Apicary, Brindlefloss, Cinemassacre, those people eventually just went to go seek better opportunities because what ScrewAttack was providing for them wasn't giving them what they needed. And that's why ScrewAttack had to rely on shows like Death Battle to be their lifeline, or else they wouldn't have survived as a company.
Yeah.
So I can't say what those deals were. I wasn't there. All I know is that, like, I know during my time, Brindle Floss found another company and, like, basically burned that bridge with ScrewAttack, and then Cinemassacre eventually just went off and did their own thing, making their own movie, and, like, they didn't talk to ScrewAttack anymore. And, like, Keith Apicary is doing whatever Keith Apicary is doing.
Jumping on a table, falling through some glass, whatever.
Breaking his ankle. I refer to those people as the golden geese, because without them, ScrewAttack began to, like, they needed something in their life, and they needed a show to bring them into the new era, and they couldn't nail it down. But Death Battle became it, and that's the problem, is that Death Battle became their only golden goose, and then that's all they are, and that's where we are now, is that the golden goose has become just the goose.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the details of it, but a lot of people that I've talked to that have either been partnered with them or have information regarding their partner contracts is they were not great for the partnered individual. They were more favored ScrewAttack, and so they kind of were very locked in. So retrospectively, it's probably a good thing that H4G Games never partnered with them, although I wanted to at the time, and I was unfamiliar with how their contracts worked. But
a lot of MCMs early on in the pioneering days of about 2009, when people were making MCMs, they were such bad contracts. PewDiePie got locked in a bad contract. Like anything with Maker or Machinima they were terrible contracts.
Yeah, I remember we were going to do Maker, but they stopped talking to us when they learned that we were an LLC. So it's like, I think they realized they couldn't sue us. Like, they just have to sue the LLC, and there'd probably be like $50 in the account,
right?
You know, so they just refused to speak to us.
They don't want those $5.
Yeah, so they just were like, no, I'm not dealing with you. They're like,
we don't want your content. We want your money.
They're like, someone who knows how to create an LLC and is running a bit. No, whoa. Hey.
We're the business makers here.
Yeah. So okay. So let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I think we.
The G1s still gather. They still celebrate the community. They have their own community that they're still keeping alive. So if you ever want to become a G1, you still can.
They should just rename it ScrewAttack.
Yeah.
Right. Whoa.
ScrewAttack.
That's an idea.
ScrewAttack.
Fantastic. Yeah, they still do G1 game days all the time, and you can still go play games and, like, meet an awesome community full of, like, really cool people who all love video games, and, like, they'll bring you right in, I promise.
It lives on. Hey, Jesus is dead, but there's still Christians out there. So.
That's so true.
Even 2,000 years later.
Even 2,000 years later, people are still Christians. So it's like, hey, sometimes you do something.
Sometimes you Jews something.
There you go. It doesn't end well for you, and people continue on. So it's all good stuff. Yeah. I want to backtrack a little bit. Blue Satoshi, excuse me. $5 super chat. So I don't know if anyone's brought this up already, but apparently Metafenfen and VBGin both offer virtually flawless VB emulation. VBGin we used primarily in the video. It's not flawless. And Metafen, I tried. I couldn't get it working on my PC. But thank you for that. And it's so Dane. You're so Dane.
It's so Dane.
I bet you think this comment's about you. Don't you? Don't you? Don't you? Go buy a 2-liter. Oh, thank you very much. So, let's jump to our comments since they're regarding. Let's jump to the other big thing we want to talk about, since it was kind of segued, was, are we lazy for emulating the way we emulated on our Virtual Boy video? And I have a lot to say about this, because we've been getting a lot of comments saying, ranging from not necessarily hostile, but like a lot of people, like the super chat that we had said, here's some suggestions, which are fine, which are totally great. Then there are a lot of people that are, some people that are saying, hey, this seems like a really lazy attempt because the emulation is bad.
And it was.
And we chose the best emulation, the best clips of emulation we could, but the emulation overall was not good because it's Virtual Boy emulation. And then other people were like, this wasn't well researched because there are multi-core emulators you could have used that emulated flawlessly. And you guys are being lazy. And then there are other people that are like, hey, I really like your videos, but this does seem a little bit botched and maybe not as well researched, which were respectful comments, but still disheartening. Richie, how lazy are we? Scale of 1 to 10.
I mean, I was the lazier of the two because you did all of the setup to try and get the emulators going, and maybe it might not have been a bad idea for you to have sent me some links to the emulators so I could have tried to work through them a little bit and maybe helped you with some of the problems you were having, because I do emulate a little bit more than you do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't feel like it was our best review. And from my perspective, I was pretty lazy. I just showed up and did the review. But I feel like you had everything in place and it was ready to go. I don't know. I would have loved to have gotten really wasted for that episode. It just felt like an episode that needed some antics. Okay. And we maybe didn't bring that into the equation. And the emulation quality was poor.
Yeah.
But I never worked on it outside of the episode, so I don't really know what we might have been able to accomplish.
Yeah. So I want to backtrack to see what you think we could do better next time, because I think it's warranted. It has enough views that it warrants a sequel episode. I already have a couple new
do I have to do it?
I also have fishing on Virtual Boy now. I actually really like it, although I haven't caught any fish yet.
I'm so lucky to have a friend like you, Tony.
Yeah, you are. So, but I do want to backtrack to that, loop around to that in a second. So I think part of what we were trying to do is showcase what dedicated Virtual Boy emulators are like. And I know that a lot of the multi-core emulators, like RetroArch, which I hate the interface more than anything.
I feel the same way about RetroArch. It's a very quality program, but the interface is just
sucks.
Not
so
for normal people.
No.
It's for people who spend their lives programming and playing emulators.
Yeah. So our goal was to do a couple different things with the episode. It was to showcase some really rare games and showcase the box art, the actual cartridges, like go out of our way to get as much of a Virtual Boy collection as we possibly could and put it on screen and have some good photography. In terms of the emulation, I tested about 7 or 8 emulators and each game on each emulator. So when someone calls me lazy, from like spending hours and hours doing that, hours curating.
He wasn't lazy. He just wasn't using his time well.
Yeah, exactly. Hours and hours doing that. Even you came after work, after working a full shift, not eating dinner, coming here, spending 4 hours and then doing it again. I don't think that's really, I think lazy is a bit harsh. I think uninformed is maybe better, even though I think what we were doing might have been a little bit misguided, because the goal was to also showcase what these dedicated, not multi-core, but dedicated emulators do. And what they do is they suck. So, people saw that and they're like, I just couldn't stand the emulation. It ruined the episode for me. And it's like, well, that's what we're trying to say. Now, next time around, I think we can, now that we have our base down, I think we can use those multi-core emulators and dive into it a little bit more. And show better quality emulation.
Why are we doing it again?
Because there's so much more.
I don't deserve this.
There's so much more, Richie.
I guess maybe we should just do it as like our retribution tour or whatever.
Yeah, however you want to do it. Tour. Yeah, Virtual Boy Revenge.
Virtual Boy Revenge.
Yeah. So I just think that it took 2 days worth of shooting, tons of prep, tons of curating. Tons of getting content from other individuals borrowing from the show. It was probably one of the more complicated episodes we've done. And it's really the first time any of our viewers have called us lazy. And probably one of the more difficult episodes to produce. So I was kind of shocked, I guess, by that. But I get their point regarding the emulation, which I think we can do better. And I think that we missed the mark regarding how it would be perceived. Because again, I thought people would perceive it as this is what Virtual Boy emulation is like, but instead they perceived it as you need to do better because what I'm looking at sucks.
And it does.
Yeah, and it does. So, I don't know, I was kind of shocked But I think that...
I haven't read the comments yet, so I can't say that I was shocked. I didn't really know how people were going to react coming out of the episode, though. Because I was kind of on the fence. Because on the one hand, it's content that really isn't covered all that much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wasn't totally comfortable with it when I was playing it. And then there was I don't know. It's just... Obviously, the emulator doesn't capture the Virtual Boy experience.
Yeah. And what we were trying to showcase is our reviews were for the original hardware, but the footage you saw was the emulator. We weren't reviewing the emulator footage. You know what I mean? Like, it's not... Our review wasn't based off of our gameplay on the emulator.
Virtual Boy is just a curse system, and you guys got cut up in it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think we did miss the mark a little bit, but I think that... those things we can probably improve for any future Virtual Boy episodes. And just to keep in mind, there are a number of comments like that, but the overwhelming number of the comments are very positive. But there were just a couple of like that there was a little bit of a negative trend.
Maybe we need to do a Bird Box challenge with the Virtual Boy.
What is a Bird Box challenge?
You go around with like a blindfold on and try to do
Bird
things.
Box. The show. Okay, Bird Box, yeah. Shelby, being a little bit more of, you weren't involved in the production, you were involved in the post-production. What are your thoughts on some of these comments?
I am so triggered right now. Oh my god, I'm glad I didn't read those comments, because I'd be like, really? I just want to take those people, I would sit them down in a chair, I'm just gonna hold them by the shoulders, look them straight in the guy, and go, normally Tony gives me stuff on Sunday. Tony waited. We had multiple things that he gave me. Also, we normally, at max, review 3 games. This was 7.
It was 12.
There's a lot of footage. Was it 12?
Yeah, it was 12 games.
Okay.
Plus an intro and an outro.
Yeah, this was 12. And there are 2 different emulators. And I shake them vigorously you understand?
It was a tough edit job, it was a lot of content.
But that's not only tough edit, but I understand, because I get all the clean stuff, and most of the stuff I don't have to delete out because it's useful. But that's a lot of content to create and then go through. That's 2 different emulators. You guys have to figure out what's good, and then you guys did a different thing where you didn't necessarily talk over game footage. You were just talking, and then I have to find relevant game footage through the footage you guys gave me, which. Is questionable at best, because one emulator doesn't have good sound quality, the other emulator doesn't even look good.
You know what I actually did is I combined the 2. So sometimes I saw. Yeah, sometimes what you hear is the sound from the good sound emulator overplayed over the visual from the good visual. So the amount of editing. So Shelby went in and pieced together all of our takes and created some bass for, all of the inserts as well, but it created some bass for what could be used gameplay-wise. I totally
forgot, because the sound edit's so terrible, I forgot to put in the sound. I just gave him the game clips, which is not something I'm supposed to do, and I totally feel bad for doing
I had to go back in and basically find what she found and kind of put them back in and do more coverage, but
that was bad.
She was funny because she's like, I didn't include the sound because it sounded so bad. I'm like,
it
Shelby,
so terrible.
The Virtual Boy just sounds like shit.
I know.
And she's like,
I'm triggered, and I'm triggered. To those people who said that you were lazy, you sound like a Virtual Boy apologist. The system died, and you can go jump off a cliff.
I feel like lazy is one of those words that people use when they're criticizing something and they don't really have the right word to criticize it. Because if you criticize a pop star for being lazy when they're on a world tour doing shows every 2 nights, at the low end of things, what you're saying is you don't like their music.
Yeah.
Which is a totally different criticism, a legitimate criticism.
Mm-hmm.
But laziness isn't the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The problem is that they are being forced to release albums at a rate that they don't have the talent to create albums.
Yeah.
And they're putting out garbage. I don't know that this episode was garbage, but it had some issues. Mm-hmm. And I don't think everybody really knows how to express their distaste with it.
I overall was very happy with the episode, but the gameplay footage is something I would like to improve on in the future. aside from the gameplay footage, which I think we are on the path to improve on, because I would like to do one of two other Virtual Boy videos. One would be additional games, and the other would be possibly homebrew titles, and then actually a third one could possibly be like sort of homebrew accessories for the Virtual Boy, because there's like this weird scene of homebrew accessories, including joysticks and flash cards and like interesting stuff that really makes the experience like maybe it should have been instead of what it was. But in terms of on-camera stuff, I think that there's obviously improving the emulator. I need to give you the games in advance, so you can dick with the emulator.
So
and
maybe some of the footage isn't from the first levels of the games.
Yeah,
I mean, the biggest problem with the Virtual Boy is that like people didn't understand that red's a really hard color for people to see, and like some of the emulators are in red, and I feel like the footage that was purple was better, but sometimes it was corrupted.
Yeah,
like, corrupted like sprites and stuff like that. So like purple's easier to see because it's like a brighter color on the spectrum, and you're not like physically in the Virtual Boy. It's dark, and now you're looking at dark things. So it's actually really hard to see. That's why people get headaches when they play the dang system. So like I tried to use less of the red because it was hard for me to even see in editing. And like, let alone when the emulator was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put the red and the blue over, and now everything's purple and like double form. And I'm like, and
that's on a
terrible.
game by game basis. That would be the same emulator does different things for different games. And it was funny too, because when I was watching it with Anna, I was proofing the episode as I was watching it.
Poor Anna, she had to watch that episode.
it was like going from a Virtual Boy like this constantly, because it would be so black and dark, and then suddenly it'd be us, and every time I think we were overexposed, but we weren't. It's just that we were going from like total darkness to normal lighting. But I do think that it would be better if I gave you these games in advance so you could play them, get to know them a little bit, form some thoughts a little bit more in advance. We did have a long production cycle for this, 2 days worth of shooting and prepping, but it probably wasn't enough.
And Puke Gate.
Yeah, Puke Gate. Well, that was with John.
Oh yeah.
But what do you think we could improve on for a future Virtual Boy episode, or just in general?
For the Virtual Boy, I don't know. I don't know what kind of research goes into it. I'm not really familiar with the Virtual Boy library. I don't even know which emulators are good, because like people are saying, well, this emulator is good and that emulator is good. Like that's everyone's personal opinion, and like you operate mostly on a Mac, so like that limits you like tremendously.
It's like half and half now, honestly. I could tell you I have pretty significant PC access, but it used to quite a bit.
Right.
Me.
So like I think the people who are like, well, you should try it on this, like aren't recognizing what kind of hardware you're working with, and it's like sometimes you're just limited by what you have as a reviewer.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, maybe if I have more time to, while not shooting, to play the games and actually like analyze. Okay, make a chart. This is the best emulator for this game. This is the best emulator for this game. This is the best emulator for this game, and then we just use those emulators, film that footage. Get it done. In terms of our on-screen dynamic, did you think that, because you kind of alluded to that you thought there could have been some improvements or something? I feel like I don't know, the whole shoot felt a little more, because we kind of had the 2-station thing going on, I feel like there wasn't that... Like we're reviewing it separately but together? Right. Yeah, because it's like we weren't being able to play a game together. Well, that's also the problem with the Virtual Boy. Right. Maybe we can try to find a way around that in the future. And then maybe I'll be able to get myself... Maybe I'll be able to get RetroArch running, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't had much success with it, but I feel like I can probably figure it out. Yeah. Also, a really great thing that I wanted to show off, accessory-wise, was there's like an RGB output mod for the Virtual Boy, but I missed the deadline by like a couple weeks, and the guy will not respond to me. I've contacted him twice on Twitter. Oh, what a tragedy. Yeah, but we could have played the games together if we would have done that. And we could have recorded it with the OSSC from original hardware. We wouldn't have to deal with emulators at all. So the guy's name is Furtak, and I've contacted him twice, and twice on email, twice on Twitter, ghosted. He didn't even ghost because he didn't even appear ever. So like he has refused to respond. He Loch Nessed you. Yeah, so yeah, he Loch Nessed me. So he some people are like, you need to contact this guy, you need to contact. I'm like, I have. This guy won't contact me back. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. But I don't know. So I was a little bit annoyed with those comments, but I kind of see where they're coming from, I guess is the point. I think it's bananas.
That hurts personally.
Yeah.
Stop that.
We all work so hard.
I know. Work real hard. Not lazy.
Yeah.
Promise.
We're working into
We work hard for our games.
Yeah, we work hard for our games. Everyone's talking about Oculus and like the Wii. I don't have Oculus and I don't have the Wii. And I don't want to. I do have the Wii, but I don't want to deal with like emulating on the Wii. I mean, why can't I just have a dedicated Virtual Boy emulator? Like, why do I have to like use a Wii? You know, like I don't know. I'm weird, but
why do you have to use a computer?
Why do you have to use a computer? Hey kid, I'm a computer.
Why can't I just hold the game cart in my hand and make it work?
Yeah.
Why not? Why can't you?
So I guess a lot of the theme of this episode is what could have been. We're talking about like ScrewAttack. We're talking about Metroid Prime. We're talking about ourselves. Anyways, Richie, why don't you dive us into our last topic here?
So pretty much the last topic is something that I feel has been bound to happen basically since the Switch has been announced. But apparently Nintendo 3DS sales are not doing so hot.
Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O.
Which is really not surprising because the Switch is pretty much exactly the same market, except it's also a console. So I don't really know what else to say about that other than I'm kind of upset that I can't find my 3DS because they don't have
oh no,
like Fire Emblem Fates on the Switch yet. So I really want to finish that game.
Yeah. 3DS was an amazing system. I mean, they're just not
focusing on it. It is an amazing system, but it's definitely no longer Nintendo's focal point.
No, definitely not.
Despite what their media says amidst these sinking numbers.
Their marketing is definitely saying, "Oh yeah," but they're not focusing on it whatsoever.
Although we have a decent question here.
Yeah.
New 3DS 2? I think that's almost a more interesting question than the discussion here. Do we think Nintendo's going to do another portable system, or do you think the Switch is going to be it?
I think the Switch is going to be it. So many people use it for like as if it is a portable system.
Well, it is.
I agree with that.
Nobody cares anymore about being able to fit a system in your pocket. It's no longer a requirement. I mean, think about like the 2DS. It's like a wedge of cheese. You can't fit it in your pocket. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we joked about putting it on the end of like a handle and using it as an accent.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so big.
So they're
Switch dual screen.
Yeah, and the new 3DS XL and all this stuff. It's already too big to fit in your pocket. Like at this point, you're already basically the size and weight of a Switch. So
the only difference is that the screens have been combined into one screen.
Yeah. So what is going to be the difference here? You have a new generation 3DS, and it's a touch screen. It's a Switch with a touch screen that's not quite as powerful. So what are you going to do with a system that's not quite as powerful as the Switch? You know what I mean? Like, well, what does that give you?
I don't know. If you're looking at it, if you look at it historically through the historical Nintendo titles, right? Because like Pokemon has always been like a handheld game, except for like the Stadium and the couple like one-off weird puzzle games that weren't really Pokemon, but they were Pokemon-esque.
Yeah.
But all the Pokemon games are pretty much on the handheld. We just had a Pokemon game on the Switch, and now we're getting an Animal Crossing game on the Switch. So if Nintendo is not saying that this is our new handheld market, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Because like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you bother? You already now you have both markets in one country. Like you can have like this is a console technically, but also handheld.
Yeah. So I think that the Pokemon model is probably a wise way to think about it.
And this is really good for me because I don't game on the go, but I still liked a lot of the games that they had on like 3DS and whatnot, like the Fire Emblems of the world, the Pokemon of the world, and for it to all be on Switch is really great for me because now I just have to buy one Nintendo system as opposed to 50 in a generation.
Yeah, exactly.
The 3DS, the new 3DS, the extra large 3DS, the 3DS minus one screen.
Right, the new 3DS.
Yeah. Well, it said here that 3DS sales were down 57%.
That's
year over year.
Well, I mean, you eventually get market saturation. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I haven't heard of another 3DS title that's going to be like, oh, people have to buy a 3DS to play the new Pokemon Aloha Sun and like whatever. I think this like the next one is like the new Pokemon Sun and Moon is coming out maybe on the 3DS, but I've heard nothing else other than those titles. And you got to think that like Japan's market is handheld. Like that's like where they make their money, and that's why the PS Vita lived so long because Japan was just keeping it alive because they just want to play on the train. Like
that's the only time they have time to play games.
It's true.
Yeah. So how old is a 3DS? Did it come out in 2010?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
No, it's gotta be sooner than that. Oh, this 3DS?
The 3DS, just the base original. My kid's squawking in the background. 2011.
11, yeah.
Still though,
I mean, 7 years is actually 8 years is a long run for
my kid is like,
for a system,
like some sort of turkey.
But it's had iterations amidst that time, so it hasn't been totally static. But yeah, it's
it's an older system.
I mean, I feel like that's if there's a system to be your last handheld system, even sort of indirectly and unplanned. Oh dear. Tony's Mac got really high.
Oh.
Maybe it can hear Thomas, but yeah, that's Tony's Mac right there. That's not what it normally looks like.
Oh.
What the hell? What the hell? Hold on a second.
Tony's concerned now.
Oh no.
Oh, here we go. We're all good.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if there was a swan song for the handheld only era, the 3DS was it. It was a heck of a system.
Yeah, it's a good note to go out on.
It's better than going out on the Vita.
Oh, I missed what she said.
There were some people saying some things about the Vita, probably facetiously, but
yeah.
Pet's my Vita, my precious. Says it's so Dane. All right, so I think that's all the topics we have for today. Did want to do a little bit of a preview for what's coming out next. I didn't have to shoot this weekend. That's why I could go to the casino. We have 2 episodes in the can from the other week.
What?
We have Tales of Symphonia and Debug and R discs that we did with Bill and David Perfect 10 Perazzo. So that was a lot of fun. And I shot that slightly out of focus by accident. I was like, okay, we're going to go slightly in front of Bill with the focus. And I'm like, I realized later, I'm like, that was slightly behind. So I'm going to fix that in post. With some Lumetri color, which actually is not in your version of Premiere, but I can basically fix the sharpness in such a way that it actually does look in focus on mine. So, don't you worry, and it'll be in focus, everybody. So yeah, we have a Tales of Symphonia video coming up, but this upcoming Saturday we have a Wii development kit video. And we're going to be covering some Wii development software, 3 different development units, and it's going to be some pretty good stuff, hopefully.
It is very fascinating, and there's maybe even some cat dresses.
Some cat dresses, yes, there are, as a matter of fact. Unlock all dresses in the debug mode.
Unlock all dresses.
We're like, what is this? And we're like, bikini dress.
Dress?
Yeah.
Chic dress, yes.
Yeah.
You too can be a Dark Lord.
Yes. It's I think it's from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles My Life as a Dark Lord or something like that.
Dark Lord.
And you can unlock all the dresses in the debug menu. All the unlockable dresses. It's like a tower defense thing.
I've never heard of that game. I had to look it up. And I was like, well, kind of want to play this now. Jeez.
Get all those dresses, you know?
Yes. Gotta have the dresses.
It's going to be a little too hot for YouTube. Yeah. It's, mercy. Mercy me.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff coming out, and then we also have to mess around with the Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and artist. People got very angry that I called it Sonic Adventure Battle 2, because it's not Sonic Adventure Battle 2. There's not 2 battles. It's Sonic Adventure 2 Battle version. So it's Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Tony, don't you know that? I don't give a fuck. Okay? Like, I'm going to tell you how much I don't care about the title of that game.
You actually took 2 takes of that, actually.
About trying to get it correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I do not give a shit about the title of the game.
It's a Sonic game. It's an artist.
Yeah, it's the GameCube version of Sonic Adventure 2. Okay?
Couldn't even play it on Dreamcast. Wow.
Yeah, so, well, that's...
What a poser.
Yeah. But yeah, so we have that coming up eventually too. Richie and I will reconvene for a Virtual Boy video at some point in the future, and then we just have a bunch of random stuff coming up. Yeah, Richie's coming back. One of these days, Shelby's going to get over to Michigan. We're going to do some shooting.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know. I have a penchant for wanting to drink, apparently.
Definitely wait for summer, though.
You should do that before my wife pops, so there's not 2 kids in the house, because then there'll be like a zone where like we won't be able to host anyone for a while, because we'll be like so dead. So she's due late August, so just saying.
Okay, are there any federal holidays between this month and next? You know what? Let's shoot for Memorial Day. Well, crud. Yeah, well, that may not be good, because A, that's around my birthday, and B, my boyfriend's sister is also going to pop around that time too. So.
You heard it here first on Hard for Games.
There's something in the water, man.
Shelby does not want to spend her birthday with me.
That's not true.
Wants to spend it with her boyfriend. And her boyfriend's about to pop. He said sister, I think. Yeah. Wow, my son is really not having it.
Start shooting at Richie's place. Yeah. I don't have a place yet.
Party at Richie's place.
I'm so slow at adulting.
Yeah, well, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Plan a holiday. I have to figure it out. My parents are also building their house, and my cousin's also getting married. Everyone's having events in life. Stop it.
Yeah,
I'm just stagnating here. What's wrong with me?
I will take you to downtown Detroit. I will hang out at some of the breweries and some of the bars and some of the barcades that are downtown.
Now that's the real thing.
There's a couple of really good barcades. That's really fun, as a matter of fact. So
selling Michigan, I get it.
It's good stuff. It's good. Motor City.
It's even affordable to live up there, Tony. I get it.
I will make sure you don't even get shot while you're here. So
that's a hell of a promise.
Hell of a promise.
No way.
So yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, no. Anyways, point is we have a lot of stuff going on, and of course, if you weren't here at the beginning of the video, we are doing a little promotion for our t-shirt store. This shirt, in addition to the other ones, it is H4G Pod 11. That's H numeral 4 G as in games, pod as in podcast 11. H4G Pod 11 for 10% off all of your shirt needs.
Delivery before Valentine's Day with super rush shipping.
That's right. You gotta do what you gotta do. That's bananas, guys. So yeah, wanted to thank everybody for joining us. Wanted to thank Shelby once again for spending her Sunday night. If you want to check her out on Twitch, she streams on Thursdays, and her link is in the description. Right. It is the Roocrow on Twitch.
And also thank you all for coming out.
Yeah. Richie, final words.
I mean, this has kind of been the show of missed opportunity, or sort of unrequited opportunity. So I feel like those are my last words.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you hanging.
My last words are, I was watching Glow season 2, and there's
I need to watch Glow.
Glow
I've
is
heard
fantastic.
Very good things about Glow.
You gotta watch. Like Alison Brie is like, how I don't know if you've ever seen Community, but she's like perky and sexy and giant boobs, but like in this, she's made to look so pathetic and disgusting, and she's like just such a sad, funny character. Like she's like a clown almost, like
a sad, funny character.
It's like, but she's funny in it, but it's like sad. It's like
kind of like Eeyore.
I mean, not like suicidal like Eeyore is, but anyway, so the director not the director of the show, but there's a director in the show directing Glow. It says to her character, I'm used to in my life a certain degree of failure, and I think that's really what we talked about today with just everything.
I think that sums it up.
Yeah, Shelby, last words.
Eat at Joe's, dab on the haters. If you call Hard for Games lazy again, I'm gonna come find you. I'm gonna make you watch every episode to let you know how far we come. Okay?
That is a lot of episodes.
Looks like we've made it. Look how far we've come now, baby. Might have taken a long way. Something, Shelby's hair is purple. Da, 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 da. At least it looks purple. Maybe it's pink. I can't quite tell.
It's both, actually. It's purple pink.
Nice. So. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to let y'all go. Stop streaming. 3, 2, 1.